Well, hello, friends, neighbors. Happy Canada Day. It is a holiday up here in the Great White North. It is the celebration of our nation today. And I didn't think I was going to get a chance to talk to you guys because we're getting friends over, but not till later. And I told my wife, I will clean. But first, I want to share some good Canadian single malt. So this is Two Brewers. Now, I'm not actually going to talk about this particular release, but I wanted you to, see the bottle, see what it's like. I've got 3 samples here from Yukon Dave, and it's got, I think I've got a classic, which is, there's single malt, ex-bourbon, that kind of just the way single malt could come if we're not playing around. Then we've got innovative, and this one is in casks that have had coffee beans in them. And then this one is peated. The other one that I don't have a fourth would be a nice innovative finish. Not innovative, it's like a cask finish series. So usually like sherry barrels, that kind of thing. So this is going to be a celebration of Canada, and certainly Two Brewers as one of the best single malts you can get in Canada. 3, 4. Thanks for coming back. Again, I'm not going to talk about this release, but I want you to see the bottle. So if my cam picks it up, you can kind of see the classic look. And in fact, that's classic, one of their series. As I said in the opener, they do 4 series. They do the classic, which is, single malt, little X, bourbon. I don't know if they do new oak in their classic. They might. And then they do a special finish, which is usually a sherry or port cask, that kind of thing. I mean, it could be anything. Innovative, which is something like, we're just going to try this with whiskey. And then, peated. And that represents kind of what I have up here. Like again, we're not shooting this bottle. It's just here for visuals. We're going to shoot this one, which is number 42 classic. So, sadly, I don't know enough. And I go to their website, and sometimes I thought I had seen like, oh, this is a mix of 9-year-old, 11-year-old, this much this cast, that much that cast, but I couldn't find it on their website this time. It could just be my bad searching or web ability, so we're just going to go in, nose and taste what I get out of number 42, classic release, Two Brewers. Oh, it's sweet, it's lively, it's orchard fruit, slight lemon. Yep, a little more light lemon and pear kind of playing around. So it's a pretty light malt. Let's get into the palate. Cheers. I wish I would have poured a little bit of this 35, which is a single malt as well, just to get a contrast. My memory, which is the worst, has this a little more graham cracker, a little more spicing. This is really playing light and fruity for me. It's gentle, it's nice, it's good clear malt. And the fruit stays pretty true to where I started. Maybe a little white grape in there, like white grape, light pear, lemon. Try another quick sip. Cheers. Just a nice, gentle single malt. It coats well. Oh, their releases, at least their classics, are non-chill filtered natural color. Don't know if that's the same for everything else, but their classics are the way they should be. Boy, that's nice. Just nice in the palate. Now I am getting just a little more oak in the conversation in the background, but it is clean and it is light and it gives the flavors up front, coats nicely, goes down pretty clean. Interesting. All right, we're off to the races. That was Two Brewers, release 42. Okay, this next one I thought I'm going to end peated because it'll probably play and stay in my palate, and water's probably not going to do it. So this one is only 43% instead of 46, like the regular classic release. And it's number 40, innovative, coffee bean barrel. And my understanding is a whiskey barrel, so it's already been used whiskey, is emptied. And then they put green coffee beans in it and let it sit for some amount of time. So the green beans are in there, so they're not roasted yet. That's what I understand. And then they take the beans out. I guess they picked up the whiskey, probably make some kind of whiskey coffee. And then they put whiskey back in that barrel after it's had those beans. So this is, again, single malt from these Two Brewers fellows, but it's finished in a cask that had green coffee beans. Wow, and it is so different. It is absolutely green bean. And what's weird, what's innovative and interesting is it's like mescal green. It's like a vegetable green. It's like actual green beans. Like you took some string beans and you're about to eat them kind of beans. It's not coffee. Like I've got, whiskey coffee. Haven't got into this one yet. A good friend of the channel gave that to me. I drink coffee every day. I love coffee. And maybe it'll come out in the flavor, but right now it has got that green bean almost. Oh, okay. And there's a little more something going on, but lots of green vegetable note. Yeah, and they're almost like a little bit of asparagus, like just a wild nose. Let's try it on the palate. Cheers. There, I actually did get a little bit of coffee in with all of that stuff that I mentioned. This is very different as a whiskey. If you're a whiskey person, you may not like this. Oh, okay. On the far finish, now I got a little coffee, a little chocolate, but it's like after the nose and after the palate and after. I expected it way up front. I better try another sip. Cheers. Okay, same comment. Now I can get some more roasted nut. I know they weren't roasted beans, but some nut and some chocolate and some coffee. But it is still there in the front part of the palate. Yeah, it's really gone dark in the finish, which is good because it was green and vegetable and wild in the nose and the early palate. Now, as I'm talking to you, it's going into all of the stuff that I absolutely expected it to be. Now I would say dark chocolate malt. Like I've got now it's chocolate malt. Now it's graham cracker chocolate. Dark, unsweetened. Wow, but it took a long time to get. Honestly, the nose now is a little bit bitter, a little bit interesting. Yeah, it's still different, but it started like all roasted agave, mezcal, vegetable, like it was totally different. But the finish is absolutely not coffee chocolate. But honestly, it took forever. If I took a little sip and ran away, I don't know if I would have got there. Now it's there. That is certainly innovative. Okay, last up from Two Brewers, again, one of the best single malt makers in all of Canada, in my opinion, is a peated release. This is 43. So I think we had 42 classic, 43 peated, and a 40 innovative. This is 50%, so it's kicking it up a little bit. I don't know parts per million. I don't know age. They do always blend. Well, not always. They have had single cask releases, so I'm going to take that back. But most of their releases here, they put a few barrels into it to get the blend just what they want. Yeah, and it's a vegetable peat. Coming back, this is sweet and gentle. This first classic is just. I would pour that to early Scotch drinkers, not because it's not complex. It is. It's good. It's layered. It's lovely. But it's just going to be that nice single malt you're going to enjoy and just have good conversation. This coffee bean, you're going to talk about the whiskey. And this adds some little bit of brine, a little bit of sea salt like that. Sometimes peat takes me in that direction. I know there's nothing coastal about Two Brewers. Really light iodine, but really light. But that kind of little bit of iodine and a little bit of mossy, earthy peat. All right, let's dive into this. 50%, 43. Cheers. That's really good in the palate. In fact, it was pretty gentle. And like I said, a little bit of light iodine peat. A little less of the lemon that I was getting on their classic. But in the palate, it's full peat. Like I don't know what the parts per million are here, but this is definitely what I feel you're going to get through this conversation. It's still a lighter malt. It's still a little bit sweet, little gentle sweetness, a little bit, boy, I don't think the water got rid of the coffee. Better try another sip. Cheers. If you like peated single malt, I definitely would recommend this. It is still, like, it's heavy because it's peated, but it's still a lighter malt. It's still sweet and nice and light, and some of the core fruit, like orchard fruit, is still kicking around in here, but it's got lots of peat. A little bit toward medicinal, a little less smoke than I expected, a little more moss, vegetable, and iodine going on in this peat. Who would that be like on Isla? But it's not a monster, but there's a lot of peat. Like, if you're going for a nice relaxed single malt, pick up the classic. This 42 is great. This 35 is fantastic. I should have shot those against each other. If you just want to have a conversation of, like, should we put green coffee beans in whiskey? Try it. It's a lovely expression. You and your whiskey friends will love that on Canada Day. But if you want some peat, you're sitting outside and you know what, you just want that almost campfire. It's a little less roasted and smoky than I thought, but there's all the peat in here. These are great. You know, I really, if you're not getting it from the way I've talked about it, I really appreciate Two Brewers. I just love what they've done. I love that they waited until they said, okay, now our whiskey is worth conversation. All their whiskey now, I think, is like some of the young stuff. They're kicking up the flavor for a certain profile. They still might have 5-6-year-old whiskey, but they're into the 11-12-year-old barrels now. They've got stock and they're blending what they want, and it shows. This is solid single malt here in Canada, and a perfect way to ring in Canada Day, especially if you're going in a group of Scotch drinkers. It's not Scotch, but they'll understand it. It's all that single malt barley done in a fantastic way. Thank you for joining me here. Hope you're having a great Canada Day. If it's just yourself, pour yourself a nice dram and toast the nation. And if you're with family and friends, which I need to go clean up for, I hope you guys have a little bit of fun together. I know I will pour a little bit of something Canadian, probably a little rye too, and ring that in. Just to all of us here, I just hope that we learn again how to talk to each other when we fully disagree. You know, there can be all kinds of disagreement on this approach for education or that approach for healthcare or this approach for all the things that we do together. I just want us to get back to being respectful. I respectfully disagree and passionately argue why. And then if a decision is made, how do we back each other? Boy, I wish we could do that. Maybe we will if we drink a little more whiskey. Thanks for joining me. You guys have a great Canada Day.